The night her husband died, the world didn't end with sirens or thunder. It ended in silence. The kind of silence that sits heavy in your chest, where even breathing feels like betrayal. At 2:17 a.m., the monitor beside his hospital bed went flat, and the nurse, a soft, "I am sorry," shattered everything Emily Harper had left inside her. 3 hours later, she sat in her car in the hospital parking lot, staring at the dashboard clock. In her purse was a single check, the last payment from his life insurance policy, $3,400. In her email, a mortgage notice waited, $218,000 remaining, 2 months behind. Her savings account had $214.38. And by Monday, the first bill for his medical treatment, $8,500, would arrive. The man who once held her hand through every storm was gone. And what was left was math that didn't make sense, not on paper, and not in her heart. Before the hospital rooms and late-night prayers, Emily's life had been modest but whole. She and her husband, Mark, lived in a 2-bedroom house on the edge of Bend, Oregon. He worked as an HVAC technician. She ran a small daycare out of their living room. They weren't rich, not even close, but they had something better: stability. Their Saturday mornings were for pancakes and laughter, their evenings for long walks and quiet dreams about someday. Then came the headaches. Mark brushed them off for weeks. "Just stress," he said, smiling through it. Until one night he collapsed while helping their daughter with her homework. The smell of pencil shavings and the sound of her scream would haunt Emily forever. Within 36 hours, he was in the ICU. An aneurysm. Sudden. Massive. No time for goodbyes. No second chances. When she came home from the hospital, the house didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like an echo. His boots still by the door. His jacket still hanging on the chair. The coffee pot, his coffee pot, still half full from that morning. The next days blurred together. Funeral arrangements, sympathy cards, casseroles from neighbors. People said, "You'll get through this." But no one talked about what comes after the flowers die, about the bills still arriving in someone else's name. By the second week, the daycare parents began to pull their kids. Emily couldn't focus, couldn't stop crying. Her income dropped from $100 to $1,800 a month to nearly zero. The mortgage company called twice. Her checking account overdrafted twice more. The fridge hummed in the silence like a taunt. At night, she sat at the kitchen table surrounded by paperwork, the mortgage statement, the credit card bills, the hospital invoices. She wrote numbers on yellow paper until her hands cramped. The math never changed. There wasn't enough. One afternoon, she drove to a local pawn shop with Mark's tools in the trunk, the ones he'd used for years fixing heaters, cleaning vents, saving their neighbors' winters. The man behind the counter looked at her like he'd seen it all before. He offered $280 for the entire set. She hesitated, then nodded. On the drive home, she cried so hard she had to pull over. The steering wheel smelled faintly of motor oil and her husband's cologne. When she got back, her daughter Lily, 7, was coloring at the kitchen table. "Mommy, are we poor now?" The question hit like a blade. Emily couldn't answer. She just knelt, wrapped her arms around the little girl and said, "No, baby, we're just in between." But the truth was crueler than that. By the 3rd month, foreclosure warnings started arriving. Her credit score fell under 600. Even her car loan, $11,200 remaining, slipped into delinquency. The house felt smaller, colder, filled with ghosts and unopened envelopes. Everywhere she looked, she saw reminders of what used to be. The garden he planted in the spring, the broken fence he promised to fix, the dent in the couch cushion where he used to sit. One night, she found herself sitting on the floor of their bedroom, holding one of his old t-shirts, inhaling the fading scent of detergent and sunlight. And she whispered, "I don't know how to do this, Mark. I don't know how to keep us alive." The next morning, she woke up to a letter slipped under her door. A neighbor ES note. with a verse scribbled in shaky handwriting. Rock bottom became the solid ground on which I rebuilt my life. Emily read it 3 times. Something inside her shifted. That night, she took a notebook from the drawer, the same one Dee once used for daycare plans, and wrote across the top in bold letters. Rebuild. Her name was Emily Harper, 34 years old, widowed, broke, and terrified. But for the first time since that hospital night, she made a promise to herself. She would not let pain be the end of her story. It would be the blueprint for her comeback. And when she whispered those words aloud, her voice didn't sound broken. It sounded like the start of something new. The first Monday after the funeral, Emily woke before sunrise. The world outside was gray and still, the kind of silence that makes you aware of your own heartbeat. She boiled water for instant coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened her laptop. Her inbox was a graveyard of unpaid bills. Her bank balance, $76.21. The mortgage company's subject line glared back at her in bold red. Final notice. She called them anyway, voice trembling, asking for an extension. The woman on the line spoke softly but mechanically, a tone rehearsed for people like Emily. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We've already processed your file." That was the moment she realized no one was coming to save her. By week's end, she found a job, not the kind she'd ever imagined, but the only one available. A part-time shift cleaning offices in the industrial district, $13 an hour, no benefits, no security, just survival. Every evening she drove 30 minutes to a row of dark, empty buildings. She'd vacuum hallways, scrub restrooms, and wipe fingerprints from glass doors. The smell of bleach stuck to her hands even after she got home. Sometimes she'd find herself crying quietly in an elevator, holding the mop like it was a lifeline. She'd leave work around 1 a.m., drive home with the windows down to stay awake, and slip into the house like a ghost, careful not to wake her daughter. Lily would still be clutching her father's old t-shirt in her sleep. Emily would stand there for a moment, watching her breathe, whispering promises she wasn't sure she could keep. The daycare license expired. The fridge broke. The car needed a new alternator, $480 she didn't have. So she borrowed her neighbor's bike, pedaling through the cold to get to work. Every push of the pedal burned her legs. Every gust of wind felt like the world testing her resolve. One night after a double shift, she stopped at a discount supermarket for milk. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Her card declined. Twice. Behind her, a man sighed impatiently. The cashier looked away. Emily smiled, that brittle kind of smile people use to hide humiliation, and said softly, "I'll come back tomorrow." Then she walked out, empty-handed. In the parking lot, under the flickering light of a lamppost, she sat on the curb and cried until her throat burned. Not the quiet kind of crying, but the kind that shakes your body and makes your vision blur. She pressed her palms against her eyes and whispered, "God, please, just one break, just one." But life didn't give breaks, it gave tests. The next morning, she found an eviction notice taped to her door, 14 days to pay or vacate. The words looked like a death sentence. Her daughter's crayon drawings still covered the walls, rainbows, hearts, and stick figures holding hands. Emily ran her fingers over the paper, feeling the waxy texture, as if touching hope itself. That night, she sat at the table again, notebook open, trying to do the impossible math. $13 an hour, x 24 hours a week, $312 before taxes. After bills and food, she had less than $40 left each month. That was the breaking point. Not because of the numbers, but because of what they meant. She was doing everything right, and still drowning. The next weekend, she drove to the cemetery for the first time since the funeral. She brought a small paper flower that Lily had made in school. She sat cross-legged in front of Mark's grave, the grass still uneven, her hands trembling in her lap. "I'm trying," she whispered, "but I don't know how much longer I can keep trying." The wind moved through the trees, scattering dry leaves over the marble. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just grieving him. She was grieving the version of herself that believed life would always make sense. On her way home, she stopped at a coffee shop chain, not because she could afford it, but because she needed warmth. While waiting in line, she overheard two women talking at the next table. She started an online course, built a little side business from home. It's not much, but it's hers. Something sparked in Emily's chest, a flicker so faint it almost scared her. That night, she searched online for work-from-home jobs and how to start over with no money. Most were scams, but one article caught her eye. "Budgeting when you're broke, the envelope method that saved my life." She read every word. She grabbed her notebook and began writing categories: rent, food, gas, emergency. She tore old envelopes from drawers and labeled them, one by one. It felt ridiculous, tiny, fragile, almost childish. But for the first time in months, she felt control. Within days, she cut expenses brutally. No streaming, no takeout, no more just-in-case spending. She sold her TV for $120 and used it to pay the overdue water bill. Every dollar got an envelope. By week 3, something shifted. Her mind stopped spinning. The numbers stopped attacking her. She could finally see the problem and the path forward. That clarity lit a small fire in her. And when Lily looked up at her one night and said, "Mommy, you're smiling again," Emily realized she wasn't just surviving anymore. She was preparing to rebuild. The first morning of her new plan began with silence. Not the heavy silence of grief, but the kind that comes before change. Emily spread her envelopes across the kitchen table like puzzle pieces of a new life. Rent, groceries, gas, savings. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was in the driver's seat again. She wasn't free, not yet. But she wasn't lost anymore. She started researching at night after work, sitting cross-legged on the floor beside her sleeping daughter. YouTube tutorials, community blogs, free webinars, anything about personal finance or small businesses. One video mentioned virtual assistants. Another spoke about freelance bookkeeping. She scribbled notes on a yellow pad until the pages curled. When she discovered a local community college offering online certification in basic accounting, she hesitated. $179 for enrollment. It might as well have been a fortune. But she saw it differently now. Not as a cost, as a seed. She sold Mark's old watch, the one that no longer worked but carried too much memory to wear. It brought $220. She used $179 for the course and put $41 into a new envelope labeled Future. The course was tougher than she expected. Numbers and spreadsheets danced before her tired eyes. She'd work her janitorial shift until midnight, sleep 3 hours, then study before Lily woke for school. Her house was small and cold, but her mind burned with something fierce: possibility. When she submitted her first assignment, her hands shook. Her professor's feedback came 3 days later. "You have an intuitive grasp for detail, Emily. Keep going." She printed that line and taped it to her wall. 3 months later, she earned her certificate. Her paycheck still came from scrubbing office floors, but her confidence came from somewhere deeper. She began applying for online gigs, small bookkeeping tasks, data entry, invoice sorting. Most paid $25 to $50 per job, barely enough to notice at first. But she tracked every cent, and each time she filled an envelope labeled Debt Payoff, she felt lighter. One night, she made $42 reconciling receipts for a small family business. It was past 2 a.m., but she smiled so wide her cheeks hurt. Not because of the money, but because she earned it using her mind, not her exhaustion. Of course, progress didn't come without setbacks. The old car she'd repaired on credit started sputtering again. She had to spend $280 on parts, half her emergency fund gone overnight. For a moment, despair threatened to swallow her. But instead of crying, she opened her notebook and wrote, "This is not failure. This is maintenance." That night, she lit a candle and reviewed her envelopes again. The numbers no longer mocked her. They spoke to her. They told her what was possible. Then came the moment that changed everything. A local nonprofit was searching for someone to handle their monthly expense reports. Part-time, remote, flexible hours. It paid $22 per hour. She almost didn't apply, certain she wasn't qualified. But Lily's voice echoed in her head. "Mommy, you're smiling again." She hit send. 2 weeks later, she got the job. The first day she logged into her new role, she wore a plain white blouse and jeans. No uniform, no mop, no bleach. Her office was the same kitchen table that once held her eviction notice. Each spreadsheet she organized was another brick in the wall she was rebuilding around her life. After her third month, she earned $1,800, the most she'd ever made without breaking her body. She opened a new envelope. Retirement. Another. College fund. For the first time since Mark's death, her dreams had categories again. Her confidence spread into her home. She and Lily began cooking meals together, laughing over spilled flour and burnt toast. On weekends, they'd bike to the park, the same bike Emily once rode to survive. Now it symbolized freedom. By the end of that year, Emily had paid off $9,300 of debt. Her credit score rose. Her landlord renewed her lease with a smile and a handshake. Neighbors began asking how she did it. She'd shrug and say, "One envelope at a time." But inside, she knew it was more than math. It was mindset. It was belief. One quiet evening, she opened her window to the cool air of early spring. She remembered the night she cried in the parking lot, the night she begged for a break. It hit her. This was it. The break didn't come from luck. It came from faith in movement. Lily came up behind her, wrapping small arms around her waist. "Mommy," she whispered, "Daddy would be proud." Emily turned, her eyes full but steady. "I think he'd tell us to keep going." She smiled, watching the last light of day fade across the horizon. The worst part of her story was finally behind her, but the best part was still being written. 2 years had passed since the night Emily sat crying in her car outside the grocery store. Now, the same woman stood in her small living room, surrounded by sunlight and unopened mail. Not bills, but thank you cards from people she had helped. Her notebook lay open on the table, its pages filled with numbers crossed out, rewritten, and finally, balanced. At the top of the last page, one word was circled in red ink: freedom. The morning she made her final debt payment was quiet. No dramatic music, no confetti. Just Emily at her kitchen table, logged into her online banking app, her hand trembling over the keyboard. $327.14. The last installment. She pressed send. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the confirmation message appeared. Balance 0000. She stared at the screen, unable to breathe. Her chest rose, and she covered her mouth as tears fell, soft, steady, unstoppable. She whispered, "We did it, Mark. We really did it." Then she laughed through her tears, the sound echoing through the house like wind through an open field. That same month, Emily received an unexpected message from her old accounting professor. "We're starting a financial literacy workshop for single parents at the community center. Would you like to teach one of the sessions?" At first, she thought it was a mistake. But when she walked into that small classroom weeks later, she saw 20 faces, tired, worried, hopeful, just like hers once was. She began her talk simply. "I'm not a financial expert," she said. "I'm just a woman who decided to stop letting fear do my math." The room laughed gently, but a few people began to cry. She told them about the envelopes, the sleepless nights, the broken car, and the day she pressed send. And when she finished, they applauded, Not for her, but for themselves. For the belief that maybe they could do it too. By the third year, Emily had built a small online business offering budget coaching for low-income families. Her story had spread through local podcasts and blogs, not because she sought fame, but because her journey resonated. Her income reached $68,000 that year, triple what she once earned cleaning offices. But what mattered most wasn't the number. It was the peace that now filled her home. No more pink eviction slips, no more empty envelopes, just laughter, soft music, and the smell of pancakes on Sunday mornings. One evening, she drove Lily to the cemetery. They brought white daisies, Mark's favorite. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in gold, Emily knelt by his headstone. She placed her hand against the cold granite. "We're okay," she whispered. "You can rest easy now." Lily squeezed her shoulder. "Mommy, are we rich now?" Emily smiled. "Maybe not with money," she said softly, "but with everything that matters, yes." They stood there together in the fading light, two silhouettes framed by sunset, the past and future holding hands. That summer, Emily moved them into a modest house with a small front porch and a tree in the yard, where Lily hung a tire swing. Neighbors waved, birds sang. Life, simple, steady, and full, had returned. Every morning, she sat on that porch with coffee and gratitude. And every night, before turning off the lights, she wrote 3 words in her notebook: earn, save, give. Her story wasn't about wealth anymore. It was about wholeness. She understood now that love and wealth weren't measured by numbers, but by the courage to start over when everything is gone. In time, she started mentoring other widows online, creating a small support group called the Second Sunrise. Each week, she met women from across the country, mothers, caregivers, survivors. Together, they learned how to rebuild, one envelope, one step, one breath at a time. During one session, a young woman asked, "Do you ever stop missing him?" Emily smiled, her eyes glistening. "No," she said softly, "but I stopped missing myself." That night, as rain tapped against her window, Emily stood by her desk and looked at a framed photo of Mark holding baby Lily. She touched the glass and whispered, "Thank you for the life we had, and for the strength to build the one we have now." The wind outside grew gentle, like a sigh. She closed her notebook and blew out the candle beside it. In the quiet glow of her living room, the woman who once lost everything had built something no one could ever take away again: her freedom, her peace, her legacy. And as dawn broke over her little house, Emily smiled, because love had rebuilt her wealth, and wealth had finally rebuilt her heart. What did you think of Emily's story? Have you ever faced something similar? A moment where you had to rebuild from nothing? Tell us in the comments where you're from and share a piece of your own story. Your words might inspire someone else who needs hope today. Don't forget to subscribe. Every day, we share true stories of struggle, courage, and triumph like this one. Because no matter how hard life gets, your next sunrise can still be beautiful.